I think the arms are kind of like a symptom rather than the cause. I think it's just a symptom of this being your third 400 of the year. That's not enough to see big PRs. You know, you need to get to like 8 in a year, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you'll start seeing big PRs. So he's fighting. I see you fighting. I tell my athletes all the time, you can't fight fatigue. You have to, if you want to fight at the end, here's how I know you're fighting. So you should beat this guy in lane 5. I think this is you. I mean, easier said than done, right? But that's you. You're fighting. Look at the head movement up and back, right? Oh, Anthony, he's here. Do you believe in a float phase in the 200? Well, first of all, thanks for joining, Anthony. Good to see you. Let's go back. So, yes, I do. My float phase. I mean, how do I put this? I'll put it like this. I might have it on here actually. Let's write it out for you, Anthony. Okay, we got our nice track here. That's already messed up. How about this? That's still not great, but that's what we're going to use. Start, finish. Okay, 200 meter strap. Okay, we'll just say to G. So we'll call this the 100. Do I believe in a float phase in a 200? That's the question. A little bit. I believe in a gather phase, not quite a float phase as you might see in a 400. Okay, so this is my 200 meter strategy. So, boom. My goal from the very beginning of the race is to go catch the person outside of me, and if possible, the 2 people outside of me. So, from the very start, I'm going to work on catching this guy, and if possible, I'm going to go catch this person too. I understand if your heat is full of heat, no pun intended, right? But that's my goal when I step into the blocks, no matter who's outside of me. Go get them. So that will force me to attack this curve. I want to be in attack mode, dry phase, all those kind of things up to about here. So we'll call this 75 meters. Okay, maybe even 80 meters. Now, as I come off the turn, Anthony, I want the turn to do the work for me by providing turnover, okay? Because I split this turn into uphill, downhill. I'm fighting uphill. Now I'm working downhill. And what I mean by downhill is if you've ever literally run downhill and your feet, right before you fall on your face, your feet have to speed up to keep up with your forward momentum, and then you fall on your face. When we think about the turn as uphill, downhill, we're kind of getting we want this to be like a slingshot off this curve. Yeah. And so we'll say from 80 meters to 100 meters, this is our gather phase. What color can we write this in? We'll write it in blue. Gather. What does gathering mean? So coming off the turn, Anthony, you want the turn to do the work for you. You want it to be like a slingshot coming off of here. And when you gather, it's a breathe in. Okay. And we want to refocus on posture, gaining distance. All right, Anthony. So I'm going to breathe in, stand up tall, make sure that I'm gaining distance. When I hit this 100, I'm going to breathe out and really place my focus on covering ground. Now, I just did a 200-meter review where I said, if you can come off this 100-meter turn and be in the lead, you're in a good spot. That's true for people that don't know how to run the 200 and don't know how to attack this turn. The most important thing is that, right, going back to your question of float phase in the 200, not really. But what you'll see is people try to jog the turn and they don't attack. And so that's why I tell that's why we coach our athletes to be in the lead off this turn, right? You've done your breathe in when you got in here at about 80 meters off the turn. You come off, you breathe out here, you refocus on posture and covering ground, okay? Now, at a certain point, you're going to stop being as efficient covering ground, and you're going to break down in your posture and begin to fight, as you have in both the races that we've briefly covered, Anthony. And right here is called, my coach says, beat the drums. What that means is turnover. He wants his image in his mind as he coaches us is like a drummer boy, just boop, 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 boop. I want turnover. I want to avoid biting down on my mouth guard and trying to fight. I don't want to fight. No fight. Right? Instead, you want to fight fatigue. Oh, excuse me. No fighting fatigue. Right? Instead, I want to fight to keep my posture and turnover. Because what happens at the end of the race is they're trying to fight fatigue, so they really try to grind it out, and then they end up getting long in their strides and slow in their turnover. So, Anthony, you do a decent job of maintaining turnover here, but you can see yourself fighting fatigue. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. Would I be getting faster with the arms as well? Yeah, everything works together, especially when you're tired with your legs. The arms almost take a little bit of precedent because my legs are getting so filled with lactic acid and the whole body is fatiguing, but it's a little bit easier to keep the arms pumping, and which will cue our legs to keep pumping. Okay. So my strategy, this is the open 200 strategy. Okay. When I get on the indoor track, it's a little different. Because I need to carry max aggression and attack mode going into the turn on the indoor. Okay. This is where I need to really attack as I'm coming up in here. Again, it's going to help stick you to that banked track, right? Because if you just stop running, what's going to happen on the banked track? You're going to fall down. You want to provide force that sticks you to the bankness of this track, right? So my recovery phase indoor is going to be, again, this is literally an uphill downhill because it's a banked track. Okay. So we're uphill. Now we get to come downhill. The turnover gets to happen for us. And right about here is where I will reposition myself and gather a breath in, breathe out as I continue to attack up this turn. Okay, maybe another breath in here. And then I breathe out as I keep my turnover going, coming home. Okay, with fast arms, as you said. Okay, Anthony. Let's watch that 400 again. Now we know you're in the white. Let me know if that makes sense. I know there's a little delay. Okay, I got it. That makes sense. Good. So this is Anthony. And Anthony, yes. So Anthony says, also in my last film review, you said I would overstride from time to time. Do you think that has to do with my right arm going back kind of long? Most definitely. Very noticeable in this 200. Actually, not very noticeable. I'm thinking of a different film. Let's watch some more of this and let me reassess if you're overstriding or not. I do think that right arm is a little bit too open. Okay. I also think that when you're indoor and you're on the turn as you are, you need to do a little weird stuff to maintain your balance. And I know it's a process of running indoor. I understand that as well, and like getting comfortable indoors. Let me watch your 4. Let's see if I still see the same thing. Just quickly, we can go here. I know you're nice and relaxed here on this float stretch. I would ask that you give. So automatically, the people outside of you are too far ahead of you. Because this is turn 1. You can kind of see them here coming off that turn. Now, I understand this is a 2-turn stagger. Okay. What that means is that, look at this, this may be the person who won, or I'm not sure. He broke his stagger on this person behind him already in 1 turn. So one or two things is true. This person is either going way too fast or this person's going way too slow. I'm not sure. I have to watch the full race. I would say that this distance is too far. You have lane 2. It's not the best lane. It's not the worst lane. It's much better than lane 1. All right. This guy's a little bit screwed back there. Lane 1 is so difficult because of the tight angle of the turn. But I would say you're a little bit too far behind as far as stagger is concerned. This lets me know that you're going out too slow. If our goal is to run our goal is to run 49, then we have to be coming through the first 200 around 2350, 2360. And I'm not sure what your time was on this 400. Maybe if you want to drop that in chat. But the stagger is you're going too slow, is what I'm saying. But let me watch the full thing and make sure. I just feel like this is too much of a float. Okay, this is almost like a stride. There's a balance there. It's still, there is a float phase in the 400, but it's still a sprint. This is more like a stride, in my personal opinion. 51.4, yeah. So maybe we can time it actually on this one. Okay. So we're watching this lane. That's Anthony. Oh, there's no one in lane 3. That's helpful. So maybe you got out at a perfect speed. I thought the guy in front of you was in lane 3, but I think he's in lane 4, which means his stagger is even further ahead of you than I thought it was. Yeah, I think there's something funky with the right arm. You're right. But, you know, I mean, that's still a big. Let me see. I'm going to cheat and see who. Okay. Right. Do you remember what the guy who won ran? Do you remember what this guy ran? Because let's compare the races. Okay. So here's Anthony. There's the race winner. You can't see it because of my bad. Okay. Now let's pay attention to this, Anthony. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it. Let's say you ran 51.4 in this race. Let's say he ran 48. Okay. Which, again, I think we can get to based on some film that I saw from you. So let's pay attention to this. Look at coming off turn 1. Look at his distance to this runner in lane 7. Okay. I'm skipping lane 6 because you also have a 2-turn stagger. You're in lane 2. He's in lane 4. Am I tripping? Okay, that's a 2-turn stagger. Is that lane 5? That's lane 4. And lane 4 won the race. So we're going to compare how you come off the turn versus how he comes off the turn, because you both have a 2-turn stagger to work with. I don't know why it looks much further than that, but okay. So already look at this distance. That's from you to the race winner in lane 4. And look at lane 4's distance to lane 6. Lane 4 already caught up with lane 5. It's very possible that he got out too hard, but we know he won the race, so it's unlikely that he got out too hard. But I want you to watch this progression, because you continue to lose distance to him, and he continues to gain distance on people in front of him. Right? This is way too much distance. Look at him to lane 6. Now, this would have been the perfect race for you to figure out, how do I maintain a safe distance, a manageable distance to this young man here. All right. Maybe he runs 46 seconds and your PR is 52, and that's unrealistic. I understand that. He's got to run his own race. You have to run your own race. But right here, I think you could have stuck better with him coming off turn 1. You already lost so much time, right? Because the clock doesn't wait for anyone. And meanwhile, he's gaining distance on everyone outside of him. And this is what you're going to see so often with 400-meter runners. They're going to try to make up the race in the last 200, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's why 800 runners don't really stand a chance in the 400. Because in that first 200, if I'm gone, you're not catching me. Like, even if I get out a little hard and you think that you're better conditioned than I am and you're going to come back in the end, that's not how it works. You don't negative split in the 400 like you might do in the 800. You don't come out of the 400 at 25 and then come back in 23. If you come out on 25, you're coming back in 27, 26. Okay. So I know I'm harping on this point. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so you begin to close on this guy, but I don't think he finishes very well. Way too slow. Look. Okay, again, let's compare you to the winner, lane 6. Look at the openness of lane 6's stride and the quickness of his turnover. Look at how much ground he covers with a little amount of effort. And I would say that your effort is good, but you need to cover more ground and you need to get out of a stride and into a sprint. You know, this just takes practice, right? This comes with race modeling where you run a 250, but you have to come through 200 in that 23.5 like we talked. Wait, what was the time you're supposed to come in 200 at? Yeah, 23.5 like we talked about, 23.6. You have to figure out, how do I float the backstretch and still come out of my 200 in 23.6? I think you have the speed to do it based on the video I saw again. And again, it's not horrible, right? Like, I think you have the opportunity to run much faster. There's nothing very wrong at all besides some strategy things that you need to iron out. Here you're remaining very much under yourself. It's just a bit reserved. The 400 takes a lot of experimentation. You have to run some 400s where you are too reserved, and then you have too much when you come home and close the race. You have to run some 400s where you get out too hard and you have nothing else at the end of the race. It's kind of this Goldilocks thing. It just takes experimenting. So now you're running. Now you started running like right now. It looks like it. I don't know if you saw how far behind you were and you decided that now you had to run. I don't know if this is how you normally run the 400, but now I can see that you're running. But far too late. You just waited too late to go. And so look, this is exactly also what I'm talking about. You see how you're fighting fatigue, you're fighting to finish strong. Yeah, my plan has been kicking that last 200. Okay. Yeah, we got to refine that. So you see how you are fighting to come home, and then as soon as you fight, like when the fatigue hits, I call it biting down the mouth guard, just because I coach a lot of football players. But you bite down on your mouth guard and you try to finish hard, but watch, you get long and slow with this turnover. That turnover is much slower, right? And by turnover, I mean frequency of how often you touch the track. Much slower than back here. Obviously, you're tired, but again, let's look at our race winner as he comes home. Okay. Also fighting, side to side head movement, but turnover doesn't slow down. Turnover stays, turnover. Now he hits a wall. His turnover slows down, so he can run faster, obviously, too. You fight pretty good. You don't finish too far after that athlete. So everyone pretty much ran it wrong. Right? You have this guy who finishes well, but he hits a wall, a big wall. Right? He got the pressure from this guy because he was on the outside of him. Yeah. So again, just like in the 200, right, our goal is to be even or ahead at 300. I don't know what this guy ran at one. Pretty much everyone outside of you hit a wall except for the winner. Okay. You could totally see how you're just jogging here, or striding, maybe 75%, maybe 80%. This has to still be at that 90% range, but nice and relaxed. Let's see if we can see anyone else. No. This is the best one. Okay. Again, just watching the race leader. Watch how he comes off the turn, and his velocity doesn't change. His forward momentum doesn't change. He just lengthens up his stride a bit, stays nice and relaxed, so that on the backstretch, he's still floating, but still running at around 90-ish%. Okay. Black track. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can see another one for you. So this is your 4x4. Like, okay, gotcha. That. Yeah, it takes practice. It takes experience. I mean, I'm saying all this like all you got to do is like it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, like I said, it's one race you get out way too hard and you're like, well, that didn't work. But it's not that the strategy is wrong. It's that you're figuring out how to implement the strategy. You get out really hard and you die one race, and then the next race you don't get out hard and you realize that you were left with too much coming home. There's a balance, and it just takes some finding out. Right. So Anthony also shared his 4x4. Which one are you, Anthony? Oh, I think I see you. This is the best race on the track by far every meet, the 4x4. If you leave early and you don't watch it, you're messing up. If you're a sprinter, in purple in the back. Back here? This is you? If you're a sprinter and you don't run the 4x4, you're messing up. If you're a jumper and you don't run the 4x4, you're messing up. Oh, okay. Sprint medley relay 1124. Okay, that makes sense. Clue 84. I'm at the state meet for Wisconsin at the moment. Well, good luck, Clue. I hope you do well. State meet at Wisconsin. That's exciting. If you have any film, you can click the link and submit your film, and I'll review it for you. But right now is not the time to go over film. Right now is the time to be locked in your races and just compete. Right. I do this as my job, but also there's times where it's just time to run and compete and not think. And meet days, especially state meet days where you worked all year for this one meet, the time for thinking and analyzing is over. Now is the time for competition. Okay. All right. So this is a sprint med relay. Let's watch. Anthony passes on the turn. They're going too slow for him. Yeah, this is a better backstretch, right? And you know why? It's because you have to run to pass these two guys, right? Because otherwise you would not get past them. So they have forced you to run the backstretch. This is more symbolistic. This is more of the style that I would like to see as you come down the backstretch, Anthony. What was your split? Was my fastest and last race before injury. Clue says, no, I'm just watching it. I'm not running today because I didn't make it. I'm too slow right now. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I mean, that's what we're here for, is to help you figure out how do you make it the next year to your state meet. Like how do you make state finals? That's a great goal. It's an achievable goal. Well, I don't know what you run and I don't know what your time is. I don't know how achievable it is, but it's one that has a metric attached to it, right? Who got 8th place or 9th place, depending on how many lanes there are in your state meet, and what was their time. And then that's your goal time for next year. Whether you hit it or you don't, you run faster than you did before. You have to have goals like that. Okay, Clue. But thanks for stopping by. Anthony ran 49.0. I bet you majority of that time, the difference was on this backstretch. Again, it's a relay. This is the best event on the track. Look at all these people, right? Surrounding you, cheering you on. You're doing it with your teammates. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I don't know many splits that aren't. They now have chips inside a baton, so you don't have to not chips like eating, but data tracking chips, so that they can give you the correct splits. But we do all of our splits hand time too. It matters, right? So you get a running start. The split doesn't begin until you cross the finish line here. So like right now, ideally you would click the timer, you get to cut in across all these lanes, blah blah blah. To me, this is what I'm saying. The backstretch looked much better. You looked much more fluid and like you're actually sprinting here, competing against the guys behind you, trying to hold them off. And by comparison, look at the guys behind you. After you pass them, they begin to stride. They stop sprinting. They work to keep you off a little bit, but then that didn't work so well. Right here, I'm looking right here. Okay, watch. After you pass them, they're sprinting for a few strides, and then they just stop trying, or they start to get into a stride or whatever because they think that's how you run the 400. But this is how you attack the backstretch. Okay, and look, you're able to still finish strong. There's a much better backstretch than your open, and a much better beginning. You got the baton in last place, second to last place. So there wasn't any time for thinking or for games. You just decided to sprint because you had to. This is how you have to attack the open 4 as well. Look at that. Look at how much faster you're. No one's just leaving you behind like in the open race where that guy just broke stagger on everyone immediately. That didn't happen here. Nice backstretch. What's this guy doing on the track? Get off the track. Is an announcer maybe? Look at everyone come home, including you, Anthony. Everyone coming home is long and slow. This guy looks actually decent. Guy in lane 1, lane 2 is not horrible. Look at lane 3, slow strides, and compared to you, right? You came and took your team from last to 5th. Watch the turnover. Watch the frequency with which this runner touches the track compared to the frequency with which, Anthony, you touch the track compared to these two in the front, right? Everyone slows down a bit, hits a big wall, and the frequency stops. So this is why in the last 60 or 70 of our 400, we have to work on frequency. Beat the drums, as my coach would say. Turnover. Look at third place. Watch how long and slow he becomes. Look at that. And then here you are, much quicker, relaxed, still doing the head nod stuff. Okay, that would just come with strength and time. That was a good race. That was a good model for how you should run the 400. Watch and compare. Compare your open to that relay. 52-1 on the red track. Okay, let's see. One more from Anthony. Anthony, you got me? This is making sense? Are you able to see the differences here? Oh, yeah. You really broke down lane 3. Okay. So you can see you really broke down here. I know you said this was from last year, so you grew a lot stronger. But this is so as we grow in our track journey, I'll focus on attacking harder. Going, yep, good. It shouldn't be that much of a mystery either. Like your practices should be simulation of the meet. Your practices should be harder than the meet, not every day when it's programmed correctly. Okay, so that you don't have to do too much guessing on meet days. Meet days is about no more thinking, no more practicing, just competition. So you should have a internal speedometer based on what you do at practice that says I'm going too slow, I'm going too fast for the 400. Now let's watch this race. This you said from last season, so not this current season, but the season before that with the time of 52.1. Watch how you come home. It looks like you attacked this backstretch better. Okay, the one on the green track was from last year. This was your fastest one for this year. Actually, I think you said that. From last green track. From this season, 52.1 red track. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, last year you ran 41.4 and this year you ran 52.1. Do I think your arms were an issue? My question was this race was if you think my arms were an issue here. Anthony, what number 400 was this for you for this season? Like your third 400, your fourth 400? It looks like you got out better. I don't see anything like blatantly wrong with your arms. I don't think it's that big of a deal if there is. Like if I saw you in person, maybe, maybe I'd have a bigger deal out of it. Yeah. And then he says, this was my third 400. And during that training block where I was doing 350s during the week along with the meets. So, and then you got injured is what I remember, something like that. So this being your third 400, you did exactly what I would expect, right? I like this backstretch better than the green track 400. I do. I think that you hit a bigger wall here because you went out harder in the first 200. But more important than that, I think you hit a big wall here because it was your third 400 of the season. Also, because it seems like you were in loading phase doing 350s. Hopefully, that's considered loading for you. Unless they were like race strategy ones, in which case you need like a lot of rest, and you should only be doing like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. So this was the biggest struggle finish, it looked like, out of all the races that we reviewed today. Again, for me, Anthony, I would assume that gotcha. I was told my arms were slowing down the frequency of my stride in that last 50 and was wondering if that was true. I mean, yeah, it's true. But I think the arms are kind of like a symptom rather than the cause, right? Your posture broke down completely and your turnover broke down completely. Okay, let's look at the leader here of this race from last year. Getting side to side, but posture still remains tall and turnover still remains quick. Okay, that's the challenge. So, and by comparison to your PR from this year, posture broke down, turnover slows down, and then arms. I mean, yes, the arms can be better, should be better, and also will lead your legs to turning over quicker. It does start with the arms, especially at the end of a 400 when your legs are cooked, Let's look at your teammate real fast. Yeah, your teammate who won didn't finish the best either, but look at his posture. Look at the turnover. It's kind of the same story here. His posture is better, his turnover is better. You really break down and your turnover slows down. Turnover, actually, you two look a little similar. I think it's a symptom still. I think it's just a symptom of this being your first 400, your third 400 of the year. That's not enough to see big PRs. You need to get to like 8 in a year, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you'll start seeing big PRs. I know that you were injured too, so that doesn't help the number of 400s that you're able to run. But I'm seeing this be more true, like with not just you, which is why I'm harping on it a bit here, which is that 3 races is not enough time to figure out what's going on. It's not enough time to build strength to finish that last, especially in the 400. It's not enough time to build race competition strength. People don't understand that racing is a different skill than running fast in practice. Competition in practice is much different than competition in a race. And running, and this being your third 400 doesn't, it explains a lot of why you finished the way you did, whereas like the video from last year, you finished much better.
If you want live personal